see you this morning.
It's my phone is messed up. I can't pick up a new It says do not, it says does not let the mayor call.
We've been waiting to come back to that. Let's circle back. Just remember. You looking?
Always back here there.
That's right. Oh, principal, I knew. I thought maybe your birthday was.
That's the way.
I'm glad to hear.
Hi, Wade. Oh, Wade. How are you?
Everybody's been so nice this morning.
That's someone.
We're always nice. We're both wearing orange.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone this morning. As
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, June the 7th. We have approved book minutes of May 24th and 31st.
Good.
Public hearing, today is a public hearing to rezone property located at the northwest corner of Cochran Causeway and Dunlap Drive from R1 and I-2 to I-2.
Just public here, right? Yes. Yes, that's,
Public hearing to rezone property located at 1248 Mount Lamar Drive and 3500 Michael Boulevard from R1 and B3 to B3. Public hearing to declare the structure at 1354 Osho Road a public nuisance in order demolished.
Well, David's probably gonna come up here in just about 2 seconds. I haven't even looked at it yet. Here he comes.
Good morning. Just some additional information. I do request that we table this permanently, and the reason why is the property owner did go through the ARV process, had received a demolition permit, and has completed the project already. The house is no longer there.
Thank you.
Public hearing to consider approval of a certificate of public convenience and necessity, carekeepers, healthcare to operate a sedan service. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council, Valerie Longer, Mobile Public Library, Shalila Valley regarding parks and recreation. Sabrina Mann, regarding, the track and field program.
Yeah, I have no idea. But most of those kids ran, I don't know if y'all remember, Mobile Parks and Recreation would have the only track club in the county for about 30 years. And I think her class, or maybe Lil Williams' class, was the last one that actually ran under that one umbrella. So she may be talking about it and needs that they may have or want.
Sabrina Mass, support for police in relation to gun violence. Jennifer Irby, comments about Mobile Police Department, gun violence, Bill Arsenal, regarding Apartments, Ernestine Rogers, Concerns About Gun Violence, and Voodoo. Reggie Hill, the impacts of misuse of taxpayer resources on quality of life, was reported public safety. Marvin Lowe, regarding gun violence, Reverend Calvin Martin, restructuring and repurposing, current plan for redistricting, Darlene Martin, same thing. Brett Wheeler, redistricting and annexation.
I would like to ask, Public Safety Director, Baptiste, would you be able to address these, questions or concerns about gun violence today?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Ordinance is held over 64017, ordinance to adopt the City of Mobile Unified Development Code.
Council?
We're ready, yay. I think all the lawyers are here today, Jared, I see Bruce, see everybody in the house, everybody wants to sit on the same row, so we're ready. All the hurdles have been jumped, and there's been a lot of going back and forth, some for, some against, and some middle ground sometimes, so.
So that means July 12th, for a public hearing, right?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
So it'll be vacationing on the 6th. I can't believe we're allowing people to be on vacation, but.
I've got a, call public hearing for the 12th, ready if I want to add it to the agenda.
There's, I've mentioned this out loud before, I didn't see, Shayla anywhere back there when I walked around in the back, but there are some discrepancies still remaining in the EDC. And I've mentioned this also to Jim. I'm willing to allow it to, when it comes to a vote, to go forward, but there's some conflicts between language and future use maps and those things that clearly need to be worked out, because when we're trying to work this out, it provided a lot of difficulties and for us to be clear and get to the end of the road on this. So we really need to look at that and make sure that we're all on the same page before this passes, or shortly after this passes. I still think that maybe there might just need to be some type of moratorium until we can look through it to make sure that all blends, everybody keeps, and that's at least for the 6 months that we're trying to get the subdivision code in, to make sure that we catch these little things that keep jumping up and biting on us. Because it makes it difficult to resolve, just like we're trying to resolve it.
Well, there's not gonna be a conflict, because if you pass the UDC, that is law, okay? Future land use is just a plan, okay? So UDC is law once y'all pass it, okay? So we can work on future land use post-passing.
We need to do this as quickly as possible.
Ms. Gregory, Ms. Day.
We do know that we will be coming back to look at student housing following the UDC, so there will be opportunity to make any changes along the way. We decided to wait on the student housing, potentially putting in an overlay for a specific area. So it's not like we can't amend the UDC once it passes.
That's right.
Ms. Day.
Just to echo Ms. Gregory's statement. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Carroll for working so hard trying to reach a resolution on this very difficult matter concerning African Town, the safe zone. But if we wait to get the UDC perfect, we'll never pass it. And so what we need, we can't let perfect be the enemy of good enough. It's an ordinance, it's like any other ordinance. It can be amended or revised later on down the road. And my feeling is, we know there are certain things that we're going to have to take. That shouldn't keep us from passing what's going to be before us. I'm sure that as we live with it, there are going to be other things that are coming up. We have the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown unknowns. And as we begin to live with it, other things will come up, and we can deal with those as they come up.
Any other council members? Madam Clerk?
06030, ordinance to amend chapter 6 of the Mobile City Code, ambulances and other medical transportation.
Very good.
57032, ordinance to amend section 57-17 of the Mobile City Code, procedures, vacation of streets, alleys, and public ways by petition.
Mr. President,
Jones?
yeah, this is the, going up 180%, right, Chris?
Yes, to
Is
the
that- Yeah, so this is, again, nothing significant other than reducing the 100% requirement, and the figure that we came up with was 80%, which is still a high percentage. But what that does, it allows any neighborhood that does want to make changes come away from that 100%, which is just too high of a standard, to get that in front of us so that we can then look at the facts and the issues on a case-by-case basis and then make decisions as presented to us. So I think that's in line with what we would expect the government to do and allow the people to have a voice. So that's the amendment. Just takes that 100% to 80%.
Procedurally, we'll get in there the salary before us, so Mr. Jones will offer his amendment, and then we'll approve the amendment, and then we'll approve the ordinance itself. And as I said last week, I'm not 100% sure that 80% is the right solution, but I'm willing to support it. And thank you for working on that.
Just because we've had some questions raised about this, I want to make sure everybody understands exactly what it is we're doing. This is not to vacate streets. It is not vacating anybody's street. It is to vacate just a portion where an entrance or an exit is for a neighborhood. Usually, residents come to us asking for help to resolve traffic issues, and they're looking to maybe close off the entrance so that you can only come in and out one entrance rather than use a neighborhood as a cut through. So just want to make sure everybody understands that's what it is. And when it comes to the 80%, if it's an entire neighborhood with the one entrance, then the entire neighborhood has to vote, correct?
Yes.
Just want to make sure that when people are listening to us or reading about it, that they understand exactly what it is we're doing. And it only brings it to the council so that the council then can hear the arguments and decide which way is the best way to go.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
01033, ordinance to provide for the reapportionment of the 7 city council districts for the city of Mobile.
Mr. Harris?
Talked about that last week, I think it's
Anyone else?
Is it laying this over till June, or isn't that what we talked about?
June 21st, that we vote on everything else. We've got a whole lot of stuff out there right now, so.
And with they, the other three others. Sorry. Four with this one.
Are you gonna table the previous one?
Well, we decided we do it all at the same time.
All right.
Resolutions held over. 31451, updated American Rescue Plan Action Plan to include redevelopment for affordable housing property located at 165 College Street.
I'm not ready to see this die yet. So, we've laid over a couple of weeks. So we got,
I would rather vote on this. I think the red.
it's not your choice, I'm asking. Maybe lay us over a couple of weeks. Let's go first.
So my opinion on it is that if we're not going to adopt this project, then we need to get busy on some other project. So if we're gonna, if we take a vote on it today and it passes, then we know the way forward. If we take a vote on it today and it fails, then we know that $8 million needs to be reallocated to something else. There's no more, you know, I just think it's time to, let's take a vote on it. This thing came up with the previous council. If we take a vote on it today, and if it fails, then we know where we gotta go.
Jim?
I'm not opposed to holding it over, but I guess my question is, are you looking for new information? Are you looking
I am.
for more people to come out to support or oppose?
I'm looking for some new information. I'm looking for a possible way to see if there's a way to build some consensus on this with some type of joint effort somewhere else.
But not necessarily the 8 million in one line.
I've got to work my way through it. So I'll probably need a couple of weeks to work through it.
In the meantime, because I think most everybody thought that this was not going to pass, so in the meantime, if the administration is looking at some alternatives to how the money could be spent, I think we would all be interested in seeing if there are some alternatives, if in fact this Capers budget does not pass.
I don't know what they are, but I know that there's a plan to do. So, let's see what synergy we can build.
Well, I'm not personally, but you gotta have fun votes.
See,
Yeah, I'm not opposed to holding over either, but I had the same questions. I guess Gina just figuring out, what is needed between that time as well as, some other options, but I'm not against it.
I don't know yet.
Yeah, I just think the delay is just delaying progress that could be made on another project. You know,
What's your other problem?
I don't have any other projects, but it could be the money could be reallocated to something totally different if that's what's necessary, but I'm saying instead of delaying this thing further and then having discussion and then arriving at the same place we're arriving at here today, and further delaying progress in some other direction, I say we should just get on with it and all of us focus our attention on what's possible rather than get hung up on trying to make something work that, you know, likely, I don't know how everybody else is gonna vote, but if we're not gonna get there today, you know, what substantial changes? I asked the question to the developer, you know, what could be changed with their plan? And apparently, they're pretty much tied to their plan because of their submission to the Parks Department, so that can't really change. I don't know what all is gonna change significantly to try to.
Then you really have to preach the demographic of the projects. I mean, I know it in and out, you know, I'm aware of the HSA and hospitals, so-called running out of money. I'm aware of all of those things. I could use the 2 weeks.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Jones?
The reality is, it doesn't matter if it's 2 weeks or 2 months, we cannot change this package in front of us. It is what it is. There's nothing that can change the deal. The deal is done, and the deal is on the table in front of the city council. 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years won't change that. And it's not gonna change the dynamics of what we've heard. It's been presented to the city council. It's been presented at meetings in the neighborhood. The community has heard it. They've made their case on both sides. 2 weeks, all we're gonna do is hear the same things that we've heard for the last month in 2 months with the same facts being presented in 2 weeks. So I think we need to take this to a vote and let's get moving forward.
Mr. Penn and Ms. Gregory.
I think when you look at it from a 2-week standpoint, what's the problem? You know, if we still can work towards, whatever plan and other options during these 2 weeks, yeah, we still should be doing that anyway. So holding over for 2 weeks don't change anything, but it does give an opportunity for Mr. Carroll to work, because that is in his district, to work with people together to kind of get a feedback. I'm not against it because I believe if you're gonna vote no, then you can vote no in 2 weeks.
One thing that came up last week when I asked the developers what would happen if they didn't get the $8 million, they said, well, we go back to the drawing board. I don't know exactly what going back to the drawing board entails, if they can move forward, if they find $8 million somewhere else if they could continue on. Don't know if that's even part of the conversation. At the same time, though, whatever Plan B is, I think we need to get Plan B moving so that this ARP money can be spent and spent wisely on a project that we can all agree on, one way or the other.
Did they say they were going back to the drawing board?
They said
or did-
if the $8 million was not.
I thought they said they will go through that forward because if they said they did not get the $8 million, that it was pretty much, because I put in quotations about that it won't be as nice. That's why I thought that was
Well,
a
that may be
mistake.
going back to the drawing board, having to redesign some.
Okay.
Well, let me say this, the project's been sitting there since 2015. They've gone after funding source after funding source after funding source. If they're serious about the project, then I think that even if they don't get the $8 million in 2 weeks, then hopefully they will continue to look for a way to resolve or bridge the gap in the need for completion funding anyway. So, but I don't know what that does to their tax credit and timing and what years. I do know that in that process that they can reapply in different years, and if the fund is there, they may be able to get that. But I'm just, right now, there's something I want to look at, and it may take a week, it may take 2 weeks. If it takes a week, then I'll put it back on the agenda next week. If it takes 2 weeks and it doesn't work, then we'll put it back on the agenda and let it fail. What's the harm?
I said, I'm good with going 2 weeks if you just find votes.
Madam Clerk?
21478, authorized change order for air conditioning or mechanical upgrades to the Arthur Outlaw Convention Center. 25479, accept permanent sidewalk easement for construction of track at 1512 Ocean Road. 37480, consider approval of certificate of convenience necessity to Slam Life Express to operate a shuttle service. 47481, assent to the vacation of a portion of Magnolia Street, and 47482, resolution to consider a fee for the vacation of a portion of Magnolia Street. Ordinance is being introduced, 64034 is the rezoning, the Cochran Causeway and Dunlap Drive. 64035 is the rezoning on Lamont Drive and Michael Boulevard. Consent resolution is being introduced. 31486, authorizing grant application to ADECA for the project Safe Neighborhoods Grant, non-local match. 48487, declaring the structure at 1354 Old Shell Road a public nuisance and ordering it demolished. 46488, honorarily renamed Rushing Drive to Reverend David Campbell Senior Drive. 58489, declare weeds noxious. This is 1628. 60490, approval board of special lunch to public service employee of the month. 491, 492, are determined appropriations to society, and opportunity for independent and performing arts service for public purpose and approved payment. 37507, recommend approval to the ABC board for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for Big Bad Breakfast on Ocean Road. This, we're adding this one. And, 60508, determine appropriation to Sky Garden Club serve for public purpose and approve, payment of that.
I have a question. What kind of liquor are they gonna be serving with breakfast?
Resolution's been introduced. 01493, authorized agreement with the University of Alabama, South Alabama, for sidewalk enhancement on Ocean Road.
Mrs. Rager?
On this one, Scott and I would both like to ask you all to waive the rules in order to pass this today. The work has already been done. We would have had this on the agenda some time ago, but we're not able to make it happen. This is coming from both of our CIPs. So if y'all good with this, we can just go ahead and pass this today.
I'm fine with that, and I'd also like to commend the University of South Alabama for working with the city on a number of sidewalk projects.
And lighting projects.
They were,
They've already done work. And South Alabama put in money for this as well.
they were very helpful on our project to install sidewalks on the east side of University between Middlesboro and Old Shell. Very helpful, and we really couldn't have done that project without their assistance.
Madam Clerk?
08494, approve purchase order to non-active, Chevrolet for Tahoe police package SUVs, $2,101,103. 08.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I just got a question. I was thinking about this over this last week. Just a question for the administration. Why are we moving from sedans to Tahoes on the standard police package? I mean, it used to be all you saw was the sedan cruisers, now you're seeing Tahoes. What's the shift?
So they stopped making the sedans. And you ever seen some of the officers we have, their size, height, and rolling them up into a Caprice package? They just don't fit. They're not comfortable. They spend 12 hours a day. That's their office. So it's just not.
Thanks.
They just quit making sedans.
Yeah, I think all the police departments have moved that because they stopped making those vehicles. They're pretty much gone to straight SUVs in most cases.
I'm sorry. Does it also mean that they couldn't chase a strong arm robber down the street?
So if you're speaking of that, like I say, I talked about height. I don't know if you've ever seen Major Reed, but if you try to put Major Reed into a Caprice, in fact, when I arrived here, he was in a sedan, and it took him 5 minutes to get out of that car.
Let's just get clarification on that.
Height, not dirt.
I got you.
08495, approved purchase order to Stivers Ford Lincoln for 7 Ford Explorer SUVs, $226,002 for fire administration. 08496, approved purchase order to Metalcraft Marine for a rapid response fire boat, $1,257,312.16.
Mr. President, this rapid response fire boat, is this a replacement boat or added capability or what?
It's a replacement boat.
Replacement. Okay. And this fire boat it's used majority of the time here at the port?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for your knowledge, that it provides a fire hydrant on the water so that we can actually run our hoses in if we had to do the water side of a ship fire or something like that. So it's a floating fire hydrant is what it is.
08497, purchase order to Sound Associates for amplifiers, monitors, and stage speakers for the Santa Theater, $138,188. 08498, approved purchase order to Musco Sports Lighting for fuel lighting for Matthews Park Baseball Field for $18,000. 08499, approved purchase order to Musco Sports Lighting for field lighting for Figures Park Baseball Field, $173,800. 08500, approved purchase order to VAPTR LLC for 10 tennis court drying machines, $29,150. 08501, approved purchase order to back in Russell Electric for street lighting parts and repairs, $23,605. 08502, approved purchase order to Nixon Power Services for emergency generator for Mobile Police Department First Precinct, $36,774. 21503, authorized contract with Cooperative Nickel for consultant services for Mobile Riverfront redevelopment project, $766,895.
And Mr. President? Yeah, if I could get the administration to sort of explain, that seems like a very high price for a consulting service, $750,000. Can you sort of explain explain exactly what this is and what we're getting for that money, please?
Sure. This is the full engineering and design for the waterfront modifications we'll be making, which goes from just on the other side of the north end of the convention center all the way down to Gulf Quest. And so they've done some preliminary work, and now this is the full engineering, so 100% design documents. This is paid for out of the Go Mesa money that we received, the $8 million Go Mesa money. So the remainder, $7 million plus, will be for construction, and once we get these designs, we'll move to construction.
Thank you.
21504, authorized contract with Vanguard for cybersecurity services, $291,510. 31505, authorized grant application to ADECA for the electric vehicle infrastructure program, $250,000 with a 20% local match. 37506, consider approval of a certificate of conveyance and necessity for Care Community Child Care to operate today.
Council, as we was having a meeting, I was looking at the presentation of petitions and communications to the council. Y'all do a great, everyone that's talking about gun violence, if we could combine all of those together and have subsector director Baptiste to address those after the last speaker speak about those, about gun violence, how do y'all feel about that?
And the Rules Committee will meet at 1 o'clock following our meeting to discuss the finalized language for the request for proposal or request for information qualifications that will go out to be responded to. So look forward to that meeting.
And then from this council and they from administration. Did not receive that